In this presentation, I want to discuss how we can evaluate different theories, in particular the different theories that we are considering in the unit symbols and society. Now, the first point I want to make in relation to theories is that we are all novice theorists. When we start a new subject, for example, politics, we come with our own ideas about what politics is. For example, you might start politics as an undergraduate thinking politics is all about money and charisma. And we go through our life as novice theorists generalizing about that. Every time we see an election or any sort of political phenomenon, we see it in terms of, for example, money and charisma. And we have just this one single framework to understand everything we look at. And it's a bit like if you only have one tool, like a hammer, pretty soon everything you look at looks like a nail. So if you only have one theory about politics, for example, it's all about money and charisma, then you only see certain things and then miss other things. So the idea with theories is to firstly criticize whatever theory you have. The idea of studying theories at university, that is to criticize the theory that you came with, develop more theoretical understanding. And in the end, you might go back and say, well, yes, I still think it's about money and charisma, but you'll probably do it in a much more nuanced way by, for example, drawing on Marx and Weber. And you'll be able to defend your arguments more strongly and situate them in relation to other phenomena. So that's why we come to university. So we're not just stuck with one theory about how things operate. We study the social sciences to develop theories, many different theories, and understanding of many different theories and how to criticize them. So at university, that means you learn to become an expert theorist. So you take this process that a very clever person by the name of Benner discussed of going from a novice theorist to an expert theorist. So as a novice, you might, when you start university as an undergrad, you might remember the basics of a theory. So you just remember the basics. You can remember it. As you become more advanced, you can recognize theories where they're being applied by other people. If somebody else applies, for example, a Weberian perspective, without even mentioning the word Weber, you'll realize, oh, that person's applying Weber. And you'll be able to start to apply Weber or Durkheim or whoever it is by yourself, or Marx. Then you develop competency. You can look at a theory like Durkheim's or Fraser's theory about symbols and see the pros and cons of each theory and its application. And that's kind of what I want you to get out of this course, to a sort of competency with these theories. But hopefully, if I'm lucky, you'll go further and become proficient, which will mean you can actually evaluate the theory in light of other theories. You can look at Durkheim and relate Durkheim in relation to Freud or Levi-Strauss, or even later in the course we'll look at Geertz and Douglas. And finally, the end goal is to become an expert, which is where you are when you become a professional academic. Your job is to create new theoretical perspectives. And the really famous people who are doing that become like superstar academics. So your job is not necessarily to become a superstar academic yet, and I still haven't even achieved that. But your goal is to become at least competent and hopefully to develop proficiency and expertise in these theories. So all this talk about theory leads us to the question of what exactly is a theory. There is no way to define it clearly. We have already encountered 5 theories in this unit, so I can point to some examples. In relation to symbols, we have Fraser's theory, Durkheim's theory, Freud's theory, Jung's theory, and Levi-Strauss's theory. So what are these theories we're talking about? We could say that what Fraser and Jung and the others provide is a set of ideas used to explain phenomena like folk tales and rituals and so on. So if we have one folk tale, like the story of a king who is killed by a slave, we can analyze that using a Durkheimian set of ideas or a Fraserian set of ideas. We could also describe these 5 theories we've looked at and the other theories as abstract general accounts of phenomena. So they're abstract rather than specific explanations. They're abstract ideas that can be explained in general to a variety of phenomena. You can also look at it as a systematic explanation which unifies various phenomena. So Freud's theory, for example, unifies various phenomena such as the behaviour of children as they progress through their early years, and also the behaviour of adults as they express neuroses and psychoses and so on. So it provides a system to understand all these various phenomena of behaviour in children and adults. A theory could be just simply a way to analyse data. You can describe that as a theory, though the idea of data is problematic. It might help you to think about it in that terms. The problem with the idea of data is that it implies that there's some sort of unbiased and completely objective information which you can use as an anthropologist. Most anthropologists see that the information that we get from field workers never being unbiased and produced in certain historical and social conditions. But anyway, you could put those objections aside and say a theory is a way to analyse data, or a general idea which applies to data in specific instances. So we see different paintings and we can analyse them using the same Freudian theory. Whatever we're going to define a theory is, there are certain paradoxes about theories. The first is that we use theories to put all this information or data or experiences we have together. That is, without theories we cannot organise facts. And one of the hardest things that university teachers in the social sciences and humanities have when they're talking to their students is convincing their students that they even have a theory. Most students might say, "Oh, I hate theory." And what we struggle as academics in doing is letting students realise that that in fact is a theory, and that they probably do, in spite of their denials of having theory, have a variety of other theories. So we have to, as academics, teach students that they have theoretical perspectives, make them aware of the pros and cons of their own theoretical perspective, and also teach them other theoretical perspective to complement what they have. But the problem with theories is that no one theory is perfect. It's kind of like we can't live with them and we can't live without them. The theories are required to explain all the experiences and data we have, or facts we have, but on the other hand, none of them can perfectly explain them all. Another paradox about theories, and this probably relates to the first paradox, is illuminating means obscuring. That you cannot illuminate something without obscuring something else. And to give you an example of this, where I used to live, I looked out and saw a ridge of hills about 20 kilometres away, about 20 miles away actually, about 20 miles away. Then one day it was quite foggy, and a fog bank formed around the hills 20 miles away. But what I then realised, my apartment was on the 3rd floor, so I had a great view. What I then realised was that, in fact, there was a closer set of hills that I'd never noticed. Before, they had just merged into the hills in the background, but actually there was a set of hills about 5 miles away, which I later went to explore. I would never have noticed that this set of hills 5 miles away if the set of hills 20 miles away hadn't been obscured by the cloud. And what that shows you is that in order to illuminate, you have to obscure. That every theory puts some things aside in order to bring out other things. you could think of it like we used to, when I was in high school, we still had microscopes with optical microscopes, which you had slides and you put dyes in, and those dyes would illuminate certain things, would show certain things, but then would also hide other things at the same time. And while the physical and other sciences are different to the social sciences and humanities, at least in that regard it's similar, that obscuring something is the only way of illuminating other things. In general, the theories are ideal and pure. So if you think of it a bit like in geometry, if we're going to make more analogies, there are no pure triangles or no true triangles or rectangles outside our heads. So we use the word triangle to describe, for example, this shape here. Now, as you know, that is not really a triangle in the sense of this is not a pure line. It's even on the screen there are dots, and if we magnified it a million times, it would look like quite a mess, this line. Same with that rectangle. Although it looks like the angles are all 90 degrees, I'm sure, again, if we magnified it even 1,000 times or even 100 times, we'd see not a 90-degree angle, but all kinds of a mess and blobs and so on. So we use this idea, these pure ideas, and we realize that they don't actually match up to anything perfectly in reality. And that's fine in geometry, and it's also fine in the social sciences. So I guess this is a word of caution, which is not to get too carried away with theories, but also a word of encouragement to realize that we do need these different theories, and that is pretty much what you study as a social scientist or somebody in the humanities. Excuse me. Now, next thing is, given that there are a variety of theories, how do we analyze or evaluate these different theories? Generally, there are the big, large, systematic theories which have a large application and are very general and are widely accepted amongst the humanities and social sciences. These are ideas like Marx's idea that modes of production and relations to production create class conflicts and drive history, or Freud's idea that human development characterized by psychological traumas can take on an unconscious form which manifest in symbols and conscious symbols. And Weber's idea that belief systems associated with certain groups create economic and social change. These are the big theories, and I can't do justice to them, of course, in one slide. But these are the theories that have widespread application, and if you are studying the humanities and social sciences, so it is well worth getting to know them very well. Luckily, in this unit, we've looked at least two of these. Durkheim and Freud are major thinkers, and I think we could probably put Levi-Strauss in there too. The next level down are, if you like, the middle theories, and particularly in the second half of the course, we're looking at these sort of middle level theories which have moderate or applications and are general, not as general as the big theories. We have governmentality, idea of governmentality by Foucault. We have ideas like Turner's rites of passage or Mary Douglas' ideas of abomination. These are theories that have less widespread application. They're probably more specifically used by anthropologists and a few people in other fields. And then you have little theories which have limited application and very specific usage. So, for example, the term invented by sociologists, I believe, or at least used by sociologists in the 1980s to describe a new kind of mum, the soccer mum, probably has a very limited application. White middle-class women in Western countries in the 1980s, early 90s. So your job really is to become much more acquainted with and engage with the big theories as an undergraduate student. And if you think about this, instead of, I've talked about the anthropological toolkit before, that you need to develop concepts and theories in order to be an expert anthropologist. But you could also think about it in the kitchen. There are some things that you can use all the time, like knives, chopping boards, and the fry pan. And these are like your Marx, Weber, and Freud. So the knife, chopping board and fry pan for the cook is like the Marx, Weber and Freud for the anthropologist and the sociologist. You have your things that have less applications, such as pressure cooker and whisk. You might use once or twice a week, and that's like governmentality or LEC or tech, traditional ecological knowledge and local ecological knowledge. Sorry, got a cold, very hard to talk with a sore throat. And then you have your sort of little theories, like, and these are very small theories, and these are equivalent to if you're cooking like a blowtorch for, what's the word, caramelizing your creme brulee, something you might use every now and then, if you're lucky, more frequently, if it's creme brulee. So the theories we look at in this course are the big theories and middle theories, and as you become more specialized and more of an expert in your field in humanities and social sciences, you'll start to use more of the little theories too. But the big theories are the exciting ones, and they're the ones that you can carry with you in your life outside of academia quite usefully. So how do we analyse these? How do we weigh up, for example, Durkheim versus Levi-Strauss? The first thing you might want to say, well, is it right or is it wrong? And really, that's not a question that we use much in anthropology. We've left that to the philosophers, who still haven't provided us an answer, so we're still stuck. So generally the question is, can we apply this? I mean, how applicable is it? Does it apply to only several phenomena or a variety of phenomena? If it's got widespread application, then it tends to become a more important theory, and then we evaluate it as more valuable than, for example, one of the little theories like the soccer mums. Another criterion you can apply is, does it make sense? Can you take it on face value? So functionalism seems pretty acceptable on face value. So functionalism would pass this test quite easily. If I tell you, oh, the real reason we have a flag or Christians have a cross is in order to worship themselves and provide a sense of community. So, oh, yeah, no, that kind of makes sense. Or the real reason people believe in magic when they're going on long trips over the seas and the Trobe Islands, and they've only got the little sailing boats, is to provide them with confidence, because when you're confident, you have more chance of succeeding. Okay, that makes sense. So functionalism kind of makes sense on face value. If you try and tell somebody, for example, that they have a hidden desire to copulate with their mother and to commit patricide, a la Freud, on face value it seems crazy. So Freud probably doesn't pass test 3. The next question is there supporting evidence? This one is difficult again because some of these theories are hard to falsify and hard to provide, and falsification is one of the criteria. Well, social sciences are in a bit of trouble because it's not really how we work. We work more in an interpretive mode, trying to interpret phenomena. The other question you can ask is, does this theory explain the past or predict future findings? And the periodic table is a great example of this, because once the periodic table was invented, we got up to, number 15, and we knew how many electrons and neutrons and protons that had. We could predict what number 16, 17, 18, etc. would look like. And you could predict, using the periodic table, we can actually predict future discoveries. So for some of the theories we might use, particularly as we get later on in the course, it might help to explain what's going to happen in the future of human societies. So that's another criterion you might want to apply when you're trying to evaluate. Going back a slide here. So really carrying on from number 6 is the idea, can it handle new data and new discoveries? Another criterion we can look is does it hold together internally? Is it consistent? Can we put all its component parts together without contradiction? That's another possibility. You might find that an aesthetic appeal to theories. You might say, is it pleasing or satisfactory and beautiful? Once you understand Levi-Strauss, he presents a beautiful theory. My favourite criterion, the one I try to play, is does it illuminate more than it obscures? Because I take for granted that theories have to obscure things in order to illuminate, I want to see, is it illuminating more than it obscures? And one final criteria you might want to use is, can it work with other theories? Can you combine it well with other theories? For example, Lacan's theory about the development of language combines very well with Freud, and that's no surprise because he bases it on Freud. But if you have covered the anthropology of magic, you know Malinowski doesn't combine well with Radcliffe Brown about magic. Malinowski thinks magic provides you confidence, and Radcliffe Brown thinks all the rituals of magic make you more and more nervous because you become obsessed as to whether you've actually done the ritual right. So there, the two theories don't combine well, and you might think as a result, neither theory is all that valuable. In the end, it's up to you to use these criteria in different way to decide which theories are going to work for you. Now, there's a great course I listened to from the Great Courses. There you go, from the Great Courses website, which is called Childhood Development, and the lecturer, a guy called Watson, who I used in the previous slide, talked about, I think it was a conference for psychology, and the presenter put on some flashing lights, like Christmas lights, and some music. And after a while, it appeared as if the music and the lights were functioning together, were coordinated. And in fact, they were actually random. And what that showed is that we have a tendency as humans to impose order on the world. And in fact, in some ways, that's what this unit in symbols is all about, our tendency to impose order. But if this presenter was right, there was no order, there was no structure, there was no correspondence between the lights and the music. So on a pessimistic note, perhaps what we're doing is just inventing ways of making sense of the world. And you have to be aware of those kind of pessimistic theories. But as far as this course is concerned, really your role is to push yourself up to about the levels 3 or 4 in your use of theories, in being able to apply, evaluate, and analyse, and hopefully in the future, or maybe even within the confines of this course, be able to synthesise and maybe even create. And if you can create, which is by no means beyond an undergraduate student's ability, then you're the sort of person who might want to go on and pursue an academic career and find out ways of presenting your new creations in academic books and journals. So in summary, learning anthropology means developing expertise in theory. You start off, before you start your degree, with probably 1 or 2 theories on everything, and you wouldn't say these theories are wrong, but what they need to be is developed and challenged and seen in lights of other theories. And as you do that, you do this process of going from a beginner who just understands theories, but developing expertise where you're not just understanding but deploying, using theories. And if you're studying this unit with me at Trobe University, you'll have a chance to show how well you can do this in your essay. But if you're, and also whichever university you might be studying at, you can use your essay as an opportunity to do that. Okay, these are the sources I used, that great course I talked about, and also Benner's idea of from novice to expert.